As a woman who was married for 10 years and am now divorced, and speaking to other married couples, those who are in their marriages, those who are considering divorce, going through a divorce, dealing with the complicated struggles and issues that they are in their marriage, I've come to understand that y'all marriage is not for the immature. I heard this saying and it will never leave me. Marriage is for grown folks. Marriage is something that will take you to your limits. It's something that will push you to the edge, and it's something that shows you the layers of yourself. And a lot of us will say, we want to be with someone, we want to be in a marriage, we want to be loved and love someone, and we want all the benefits and all the things, the beautiful things that marriage has to bring, which it does. But a lot of us are not ready and willing to deal with the crucial things that marriage was designed to do for the man and the woman as they journey together in that union. And let me tell y'all something. Whatever you dealing with, marriage is going to bring it out. Whatever you struggling with, marriage is going to bring it out. Whether it's insecurity, whether it's lust, whether it's commitment issues, whether it's low self-esteem, whatever you are dealing with, you will not be able to hide it in your marriage. And I think about that aspect of hiding. And why? Why does marriage bring out all these different aspects of ourselves, all of our demons, so to speak? And when we take a look at scripture, a lot of times we like to discredit the scripture. But when we take a look at the scripture, it's there that I find a level of understanding about the purpose of marriage and what marriage was designed to do. And when God, in Genesis chapter 2, when God made a suitable helpmeet for Adam, when he brought them two together, Adam declared, "This is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man." And I want to share this part with you guys that really stood out to me. Genesis chapter 2, verses 24 through 25. And it says, "That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh." And this is the key part that I want you to listen to. Verse 25, "Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame." Now, I want to break down the naked and felt no shame aspect. We could look at that at face value and say, okay, they were physically naked, right? But naked is more than just meets the eye. When it says that they were naked, not only were they probably physically naked, but they were also emotionally naked. They were also mentally naked, spiritually naked. They were truly holistically naked before God and before each other. And this nakedness didn't produce guilt. This nakedness didn't produce condemnation. This nakedness didn't produce a lack of self-esteem and self-confidence and distrust. This nakedness that they both had in the beginning when God brought them together was no shame. It was freedom. And what I believe is happening in many of our relationships and our marriages, and I'm going to specifically speak more on our marriages, is that when we get married, we don't understand the level of nakedness that we need to be before our spouse. And if we would be honest with ourselves, we would acknowledge that many of the things, the traumas, the childhood traumas, the self-criticisms, the all the things, internal things that we're dealing with, we do not want to be naked in front of our spouse, really naked. And what happens is marriage has a way of bringing all those things to the surface. It has a way of bringing all those things out, because what's supposed to be the result of that is no shame. But when we haven't dealt with those things by God, when we haven't dealt with those things internally in our singleness, when we enter into a marriage, those things are going to be brought to the surface. Those things are going to be revealed and exposed. And it's because that's the nature of marriage. The nature of marriage is for a man and a woman to become one and to be completely open and vulnerable and naked before one another, to be free, not to be condemned, not to be feeling of shame. It's to be free. And truth be told, many of us have not dealt with all the things that we need to deal with in order for us to be truly naked before our spouse. And we can say, okay, in relationships we have that, right? Because we have dysfunction in relationships. I'm talking about outside of marriage and dating. But there's something about marriage that adds a certain element to it, and it's the legality of it. See, when you are dating somebody, you're not completely vested. You're not completely vested. If I want to say, you know what, after 10 years of dating you, I don't want to be with you anymore. I went on to somebody else, and I'm good on that. You can walk away. Walk away a lot of times with no repercussions, but not in marriage. Not in marriage. Marriage, there are legal accountabilities and responsibilities that will occur and that you will incur for your lack of commitment. So while as a boyfriend and girlfriend, you can walk away if you so choose to, with marriage, it is a definite commitment. And that's why you can have people who've been dating and even living together for years, y'all. And then as soon as they get married, all hell break loose. And they hit into the divorce court. In marriage, there are legal factors that bind you to your word and to your commitment. And that if you don't follow through with that commitment, then there is legal repercussions to pay because of your lack of faithfulness to your word. Marriage is not play. That's not play. And that's why I say marriage is for grown folks. You know, I was talking to one of my students the other day, and I asked her, we were talking about marriage, and she said, you know what, I'm not ready for marriage because there are a lot of things that I know that I will have to compromise that I'm not ready to compromise yet. And I will say at least she was being honest with herself, because what marriage requires is compromise. What marriage requires is sacrifice. What marriage requires is putting the other before yourself. And a lot of us are not ready and willing to do that. Marriage is not about you and what you're going to get and how your needs are going to get met and how they're going to fulfill and fulfill and fill the void of all those empty spaces that you have, all those traumas that you need healing, all those demons that you need delivering from. No, marriage is about service. Marriage is about you serving the other. And a lot of us are not willing to do that. And we need to think to ourselves, is marriage something that we really want? And truth be told, a lot of us are not getting married nowadays. Because we really deep down in our spirit, see, we can talk about culture all we want. We can talk about who created this and who created that and how this culture people created monogamy and this culture people created polygamy and all that. But at the end of the day, when we get down to the spirit, we truly know what marriage is about. It's a level of commitment that a lot of us are not grown enough and mature enough to handle. Marriage is a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing. To be able to be naked in every way in front of another person without any shame, any condemnation, but complete acceptance, complete freedom, that is a beautiful thing. But y'all, we have to be careful and honest with ourselves, with the person that we choose. We have to come to certain terms within ourselves. Are we ready for it? Have we done the work? A lot of us have not done the inner work beforehand to prepare us for the marriage that we so desperately seek after. And if you notice in the story, it is God who brought the two together. So that means God worked on and perfected the man to a certain level, and he worked on and perfected the woman to a certain level, that they were both now ready and whole to bring to one another. And that's how they could experience a divine relationship with no shame and full and complete transparency. God's desire is for us to be blessed. And there are many of us who truly desire and want that type of love. I desire and want that type of love. But we have to understand there's a certain level of maturity, a certain level of authenticity, a certain level of humility that goes into this type of union. And if we have not done the inner work, or are not willing, if we're already in it, not willing to do the inner work that it takes to achieve this level of transparency between two people and vulnerability between two people, we will constantly face the same tragedy over and over again. Marriage is designed to open you completely to another person. Are you ready and willing for that person to see you as you truly are? Are you where you need to be? Are you where you need to be truly as a person to experience that level of openness and vulnerability? Y'all, we need to do the inner work. God desires to see you blessed. I desire to see you blessed. And I know you desire to see yourself blessed. But you got to do the inner work that it takes to get you to the level, the place of maturity, the place of humility, and the place of spirituality that you need to be in order to partake in this divine union. Because this is a divine union. This ain't play. All these things, these type of different relationships that's coming out nowadays, these are play. But marriage is not play. God never designed it for it to be play. He designed it to be a blessing. Don't turn it into a curse for your life. I pray for those who are in marriages now that are struggling. I pray that you are brought to a certain level of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that you need in order for there to be the healing that needs to be done, so that this level of divine transparency and freedom can be experienced in your marriage. And if you are not married, if you're divorced, if you're single, if you're widowed, I pray that you are at a place where you are doing the inner work that's necessary to bring you to a place where you're healed enough as a person by God, not by yourself. Because a lot of times we think we're healed, we think we're whole, we think we've defeated all of our demons, and we're really just lying to ourselves. The word says the heart is deceitfully wicked above all else. Who can understand it? But God is ready and willing to work with you to bring you to a place of healing that you need to be in order to experience the level of blessing that you need to experience. And I pray that you're willing as a single person to do the work that's necessary so you can experience this divine blessing of love, of the ultimate level of love that God could possibly design on this earth to be experienced by two human beings, two imperfect human beings who are created in the image of God to share with one another. Y'all, do the inner work, do the reflection, be honest with yourself so that you can experience this beautiful and blessed union. Love you. Bless.